Awesome. Okay, let me do what I do, and then we'll get into our introduction.
Sounds good.
Okay. Okay. Yeah. Make sure everything looks good. Yes. Okay. It's showing up. Awesome. All right. Hi, everyone. Welcome back to Speaking Spiritual. This is episode 2. Today, we're going to be talking about financial trauma. Today, I have a guest speaker, I have a guest appearance. Miss Tanisha, go ahead and introduce yourself.
Well, hello everyone, and I'm so happy to be here. So, my name is Tanisha Orr. I am currently a loan officer with a company called Neighborhood Concepts, giving you a little bit of professional opinion on things, and just give a little bit of background about me. I started on my financial path in 2008, which was, if anyone knows, was at the crash of the housing market and banking industry. So I had to get it from the mud, as you say, and
Mm-hmm.
start at the bottom. So I started out as a teller, and then within 3 months, I had to basically hold down a whole branch by myself. But I've worked every position in the bank you can think of, except for branch manager officially. But I've been a teller, been financial advisor, kind of been just a personal banker, even been on the regional side. If you work in bigger banks, you have a regional team. I was part of that team up until this year, where I made the switch to working for a nonprofit. And now I'm a loan officer. And then a little personal about me, I have three beautiful children, two boys and one girl, and we love to watch movies, dance, just have a good time, play games at the house, you know, as you do since when you have kids. So that's a little bit about me. And thank you so much for having me, Brittany.
Yes, thank you so much for coming through. I'm so happy to have you. So, do you teach your children about finances? Like, how early is too early? Do you go ahead and
Girl, I teach them daily on a daily basis, just small little tidbits. I have my children, my older sons now thinking about, okay, what business do you want to start? What business can we get you? And helping them be financially independent. So my children, they go and check the mail every day, and in the mail they see these letters for checks, get a loan and get a loan here. And even when I small stuff like that, I'm like, look, you see this check, it'd be for $1,000. That's perfect. Like, mom, why don't we get that now? No, because you're going to be paying that back for a long time, and your interest rate's going to be 500%. So even my 6-year-old, I tell her, this is, it's money, but it is a trap, and you don't want to fall into it. So it's never too young. You just have to break it down to their level. Even my niece will tell you, I'm like, girl, you are a young woman. You need to be saving at least $25 every paycheck. Have it go to a place where you can't see it. So by the time you're my age and older, you can be, financially independent, and you can have thousands of dollars in your account just by small savings. So I say it's never, ever too early to start.
yeah, definitely. I definitely agree with that. Starting early.
Hmm. We
Starting
got to teach these children young so they don't make the same mistakes as we do.
facts. That is so very much facts. So we're gonna go ahead and get into our first topic. What is financial trauma? So I know you said you have a definition for that. Um, my personal, what I was thinking when I came up with this topic was, you know, experiences that I've had or that a lot of us have that we feel shame or discouraged behind these financial experiences that were negative,
Yeah.
and it prevents us from making more sound financial decisions in the future. So, what is the actual definition of
So
financial?
the dictionary definition, if you will, financial trauma is also known as money trauma or financial PTSD. So anybody who's ever struggled with PTSD, they know you get triggered easily. It could have been something in your past that'll bring something up in you, and just it can be money trauma. Even seeing money can be a trigger for you. So the official definition is it's an official psychiatric diagnosis, but it's often used to describe financial triggered PTSD. So it's equivalent to PTSD. So this includes different
Mhm.
challenges people experience when they have difficulties coping with either the abrupt financial loss or chronic stress or having inadequate financial resources. So, financial trauma, and a lot of us have gone through this recently in 2020. We all faced a huge financial trauma or we couldn't get out. We couldn't spend our money the way we wanted to. That may be a trigger for us. And people might be dealing with that and they have no clue. So when you think of PTSD, think of financial trauma just being triggered in that way.
Right. Yes. So, would you say that a lot of our trauma comes from childhood, starts at childhood?
So your financial trauma can start at any point in your life, but a lot of the times for African Americans who are in poverty, that's exactly where it starts. If you ever grown up and had your lights off, or your mama's like, I need that money for the light bill, and all of a sudden now you're worried as a child, like, oh no, now the lights are going to be off, or the lights do go off, and you have that experience, in your little emotional handbag now. And it's like that is financial trauma. So if your parents struggle financially, they can definitely pass that on to you. So it's definitely something to be aware of.
Very much, very much.
Hmm.
I definitely agree. I feel that when I grew up, we didn't have a lot, but one of the things that would trigger me was thrift stores. My mom
Hmm.
used to take me to thrift stores and I hated the thrift
Oh my
stores. The
lord.
clothes stunk and the clothes were outdated, and just other people wearing them. Like, I just couldn't fathom wrapping my mind around having to wear clothes that other people wore. Like, it just really like got to me. And
Yeah.
so later in life, it affected me because I was afraid to invest in my clothes, in my attire. Like, I
Yeah.
was still wearing clothes from 5 years ago, 10 years ago, clothes when I was in high school. And I was just like, there's something going on here.
Absolutely.
It's
And
deeper.
that's a definite trigger, and it can be passed down. It can also be from financial loss if you ever experienced unemployment, or if you tried to start a business and it failed, a breakup or a divorce, benefits running out. I can attest to that one. My benefits run around after switching jobs. If you had to go be put on child support or through the whole alimony process, end of assistance or disability coverage. So if you were on, some type of financial assistance and now it's been cut off, that can be a financial loss, and it can be a trigger as well as a death of a family member. And in the African American community, that's something that we definitely need to do better at when people pass away. Who's going to handle those finances? It's something like almost taboo that we don't talk about, but we
Right.
need to talk about. But if you experience the death of a family member and then all of a sudden you and your family are having to scrounge up money to bury this, family member, that can be part of your financial trauma.
Very much. I've very much seen that happen, even within my own family, and people even falling out, with each other about it because it never was talked about. It never
Hmm.
was discussed. Um,
And
so
so it's
I,
like, Grandma said Pookie's going to get the stereo, like all that
yeah,
can be a part of your financial trauma. So, but the the problem is we never address it. We never say put a label on it. So I feel like putting that label of financial trauma is huge. Of saying, okay, this is what's happening to me. this is what this is. It's financial trauma. Even I've seen it in the bank several times where people
Right.
come in trying to get money and borrow, and they're like, "Well, I already know my credit's not good, and I already know I've been, denied before, and
Yeah.
all of this." It can play huge into your financial trauma. Even like when you go to like Kohl's and they're like, "Would you like to get a credit card?" That may be a trigger for some people because they're like, I tried 3 times before and I got denied. And all of a sudden, they're finding themselves in situations that are triggering to them. So, financial trauma, it's a broad spectrum that we all need to be made aware of.
Exactly. I definitely have been a testament to that with the whole credit card thing. Um, First, I want to say that as a words of encouragement is that if you don't know what you don't know, so don't be hard
Right.
on yourself about what you don't know. And that's one of the things that I had to work with and overcome, is realizing that I didn't know better. I didn't know,
Hmm.
no one taught me these things. So you made a mistake. It's okay that you made a mistake, or it's okay that you know that it just didn't work out, or you didn't get approved, or you know
Right.
now it's time to take actual steps to figure out, okay, this is, or recognizing this is where I'm at, and what steps do I need to take to move forward. But sometimes our emotions just really cloud us to where we don't even think like that.
Yeah. And back to the official definition, it is all psychological. And if we don't address it, it will spill over into our daily activities and affect us in ways that we wouldn't even think of it could affect. So you have to be brave and address them as they come and say, okay, I got denied for that. What is the reason why, and how am I going to move forward, and not get stuck in it and say, I always get denied for credit cards. It's never going to happen to me. I can never do this. You can't put yourself down. You always have to build yourself up. It's all about your mindset. And when you have a strong mindset, you can conquer the world. Is what I say.
Yes, yes, yes,
Absolutely.
yes, the mindset. So I'm going to go into the next topic of how financial trauma affects our relationships, intimately, family wise. We talked about with funerals, how that could affect family dynamics in those things. So from your personal experience being a banker or working at a bank and having people come in, have you ever seen anyone like come in without like their spouse or their partner, and it get like a little sticky situation, like,
A
I don't want
million
my
times. A
partner.
million times. It's like, I don't want him to know I'm doing this. It's mostly women, though, who are seeking their own financial independence and they don't have the support of their spouse or, their significant other or even their family. They're like, oh, my family said I couldn't do this, or they think I'm crazy for doing this, but this is what I want to do. And it affects relationships. First of all, we have secrets that affects a lot of things
Yeah.
in relationships, but it affects more than just your relationships, but it can have a huge shift in dynamic when even you are the breadwinner in your family. It can have a shift when people in your family are always like, "Well, I know Tanisha got it. She's got it. She deals with money all the time, so she knows what she's talking about. So we're gonna ask her for this." Or on the opposite end of that, "Oh, I know so and so. They are not gonna have it. Let me go ahead and start getting ready and getting them where they need to be." So it's two ends of the spectrum, and you have to think of either number one, how you're affecting your family and your friendships and how money plays a role in that. And two, how you're being looked at when it
Right.
comes to that, and how to pivot and how to change and how to turn things around for yourself. But it can definitely either have a negative or a positive perspective on your relationships. And you don't want to, I say, you don't want to get in any relationship not being honest. That's just, I'm not a relationship specialist, but you got to
Yeah.
be honest about where you are. For example, if you get in a relationship and you and your partner, boyfriend or girlfriend are like, okay, I want to move in together. Uh-oh. We got a trigger because
Yeah.
if your credit's not good or you ever been evicted and oh your name's going to have to be on the lease, I can't be on the lease, and that can put a strain in your relationship because you could be putting a burden on your partner, and that's something they didn't even think about even asking you about. So you have
Right.
to be open and honest and not afraid to address those struggles, otherwise it's going to be a downhill slope, a downhill
Right.
slope.
For a fact. So
Yeah.
when do you think is an appropriate time for intimate relationships to bring up finances or talk about, or ask the questions that they need to ask?
I think for me personally, it came about the time when we're like trying to purchase things together or, go in on vacations together. It's like, okay, how are you going to come up with your half of the money? Okay, what's your credit score looking like? Are you going to borrow this money? Are you going to use your credit cards? How are we going to expense it? And
Yeah.
that can be an easier or way, but you don't want to wait until you're like about to be at the car dealership and like, oh babe, I'm gonna buy you a car, and then your credit's not good, or you have stuff in collections. It's like, oh no, I'm not gonna buy you a car. We need $10,000 down payment, things like that.
Right. Yeah.
You don't want to jump into it because then, if you're just dating, then everybody knows your business. Like, oh, don't mess with Tanisha. She ain't got no money. You want to wait and find that kind of sweet spot and bring that up. But you also want to be very delicate because as Black people, we don't like talking about money. There's certain things we
Yes.
don't talk about. Don't talk about my
Yes.
money. Don't talk about how much I make. Don't talk about this. But when in a relationship, that's things you both need to talk about and you both need to commit to. Right now, me and my boyfriend, this at the beginning of this year, we both sat down in January and said, okay, since we're doing goals as people do at the beginning of the year, let's talk about our spiritual goals, our financial goals, and our relationship goals. And when
Nice.
you have it broken out like that, when I tell you we wrote everything down, we prayed over it, we're like, okay, this is what we're going to do. This is what we need to get done. And we've been doing it. We've been checking it off. Like, I need to change my insurance. My car insurance is way too high. In my situation, being a divorced woman, I needed to get insurance. It was in my husband's name, my ex husband's name. So it's like, if you're honest and you are with that person that is your person, there shouldn't be any subjects that are off limits. And finances should be, right up there with, what do you believe in? What is your goal, in a relationship? It should be right up there. Not as important as your spiritual, but maybe
Yeah.
a notch or two down. It should be up there and you should be talking about it open and honestly. What do you think, Brittany?
I definitely think that for a fact I was the one that was triggered for one. But I
Hmm.
had instances where first date someone asked me
Oh no.
like my credits, and I was like, and he was trying to, and I was just like, I didn't. It kind of made me a little uncomfortable because it was just like, for one, I'm here for free food.
You're right.
Let's
Let's
start
be clear.
there. Let's start there. I'm here for free food. The fact that you went there, so
Yeah.
I wasn't. That was one that kind of stuck with me, and I wasn't sure if that was something that was normal. Like, you know, and my mother, she doesn't talk about finances like that, her finances like that. So
Hmm.
when she comes to me and talk about her dating and the guy that she's dating is bringing up and she's like, well, I don't understand why he's asking me these questions. I'm just like, well, mom, if you're going to be serious with this guy,
Hmm.
you know and so it gave me perspective of, okay, well, I may have had issues talking about finances in relationships previously, and I'm realizing that it stemmed from my mother.
Yeah.
So now I feel that finances should be brought up, like trickled in a little bit. Like, we could talk about credit score or whatever
Hmm.
when we're like at the next stage. I feel
Yeah.
like after, yeah, like once we've established like, okay, we're going to be serious, like we're going to be committed, okay, then that's when I feel like it should be brought up. Personally.
Absolutely. Absolutely. I couldn't agree more. It's like those type of relationships, you gotta be honest. If I don't say anything, you gotta be honest. But then you
Yeah.
gotta kind of fill it out too. You don't want to be springing it on too early, and
Yeah.
people are thinking, "Oh, this girl is just out for my money. She's just out for a meal or looking for somebody to pay her rent." Like,
Right.
like
Right.
no, you want to
Right.
be, financially independent at a certain point before you even start dating, because you don't want to have to depend on that meal and be like, oh, you stood me up. Now I'm hungry. Like, you got to
Yes.
get yourself together first before you can
Yes.
even consider or even have the audacity to bring it up. Like, well, what's your credit score? Mine's 780. What's your credit score? Mine's 420. Like, no, why
Yeah.
did you even bring it up?
Why would you even bring that up? Why did you even
Right.
talk about it? Yeah.
Absolutely. So it affects a lot of things. And one of the things that I did want to say, it also affects our spending habits along with our relationships. Some people who are experiencing financial trauma fall heavy into gambling and
Mm,
overspending.
okay.
Is the one end of the spectrum where they're like, I'm already in the mud, so I might as well have fun while I'm here. And they build
Mm,
themselves into an even worse debt than
a
they were
financial
before.
pig.
Exactly. And then there's the other end of the financial trauma spectrum where people are like, I'm not going to open that bill. I'm not going to go to the grocery store. I'm
Yeah.
not going to go anywhere where I can be triggered or even have to think about finances. I won't even go to the bank because I don't want to even deal with these finances. And
Yeah.
so, if you're not centered or in the middle of that spectrum, it can cause serious strains, not only on your relationship, but on your mental health. It's like,
Mhm.
why am I doing this? Why am I afraid to go to the mailbox? Why am I afraid of an 800 number call? Like, I need
Yeah.
to settle down, figure it out, and work with myself first before I can even, consider how it's affecting my relationships and those around me. So some people won't even answer their phone for their family members, and that's
Yeah.
that's sad. But it's
Definitely.
true. So you want to be aware of those cognitive behaviors that you may have pushed off. So it affects a lot of things, not just relationships. So I did want to bring that up.
Yeah. Like, what do you feel that? Because I know a lot of they say the number one cause of divorces or failed relationships is finances. So do
Yeah.
you feel like it's not being talked about early on, or people are just not asking the right questions? Like, what in your opinion, what do you think
I
goes
think the
wrong with people?
problem is we are not goal oriented when it comes to our finances. So we'll see the problem, but nine times out of 10, we're not going to address it or we're not going to bring it up to our spouse. And you know for a fact, this person is going to call everybody trying to collect this money. So
Right.
it's like, if we address it and write down our goals, I mean, we Google everything else, how to make potato salad, how to do this, how to do that. Why can't you Google on how to get yourself out of this financial situation? So I feel like that plays a big role into it. And then when you are married, it all depends how you're setting up your finances. So I always say there's several different ways when you're married how to set it up. And the one way that I have found to be true is to set up an account, joint account, where the bills come out of. When both of you get paid, either the same time or opposite weeks or once a month or however you get paid, set money aside for your bills and have that in a joint account. The part that I think it can become a situation in your marriage is where you don't set up that account and you're both not equally contributing, even though you're both working. So some men, maybe the breadwinners, are like, I don't want my wife to work. That's fine. And that's your financial situation. And that's the path that you chose for your family. So that means he's going to have to pay all the bills, but she's going to have to do more of the, work in the house.
Right.
However, if you're both working and you're both keeping your money, he has his bills, she has her bills, you pay this bill, I pay this bill, but the money's separate, it can be strained because
Yes.
what's happening is, number one, nine times out of 10, y'all not making the same money. Obviously, men get paid 31% more than women, and
Oh
that's
wow.
at the very low end of the spectrum. So men
Okay.
are making more,
Yeah.
and then all of a sudden, okay, 4th of July comes around. And he's like, honey, I'm going to take us to the beach, or I want to go to the beach. I just need you to get the rental car. And she's like, okay, I've been paying my bills like we said we would. You pay your bills, I'm paying mine. I don't have anything left on this trip. And so
Yeah.
that can cause a financial rift in relationships. So in a marriage, it's important that you're both carrying the weight as much as you can, or however you guys agree to, that you're sticking to those agreements, whether they be, written or verbally. You know me, I'm gonna be like, let's put it in writing or let's
Put
get it
it
down on
in
paper,
writing. Let's
or
write it.
let's get that joint account. Let's do what we need to do to handle business.
Yeah.
But again, that all comes back to honesty. It's like, I know I can only pay all this, and you want to do all this is not going to work out. So a lot of it is because people are selfish. They don't want to share their money. And then when they find out you don't have any, they're like, well, where's all your money going to? And then they realize that their partner is an overspender, or not a budgeter, or someone who is not handling that financial situation. And it can be a strain. Um, Fortunately, I never had to deal with it.
That's good.
It's really good because you know me,
Yeah.
I'm a talk. I'm like, hey, what we doing? Where we going?
Yeah.
What's happening? But some people are not as honest and upfront about their finances, and it can be a real strain, and it can be a make or break deal, especially when only one of y'all is working towards those common goals.
Hmm. Yeah, for sure. I have to definitely agree. So, what do you think about? I guess this is the last one, and we'll go to the next topic. What do you think about like conjoining? I know you were saying when you're married, of course, have that shared bank account. But what about like just boyfriend or girlfriend? Like, what are your thoughts on them? Buying things together like a house, or how do you feel like that? Like, what are your opinions on that?
Well, I'm a little mixed
Okay.
because, okay, so being in the banking world for so many years, my first response is like, wait till you're married.
Yeah.
Don't do it. That's
Yeah.
the traditional way of just waiting till you're married. That way you both share the same name. You have, multiple ownerships in your name. And that way there's no question about it. If I go to the bank, I want to know how much is in my husband's account. Bam, I'm the missus. You gonna tell me. However, it is the 21st century. And if you do things the traditional way, you will end up being married to a serial killer. So it all depends. For me, it all depends on how serious you both are in the relationship and how financially responsible. If you know that your partner is going to be waiting on the newest pair of J's to come out and not pay his, utility bill just to get the shoes, probably want to wait on that, right? But if you're with someone who is responsible and y'all share the same goals, then I say go for it, but probably start off with having him on the account and maybe you being a beneficiary, or you getting holding the debit card first. And so he can get used to your expenses, or she can get used to your expenses and the way that you spend on non-essential items. And that way they can see your spending habits. I know me for sure. It's like, once I budget everything out, I'm going to spend my money the way I budgeted it out.
Yeah.
However, if y'all don't see eye to eye, I would probably wait. So it really depends on what your goals are together and how serious you guys plan on being. If you're like, hey, we've been dating for 2, 3 years and we both need an account to where I can easily give you money or you can easily give me money, then let's go for it. Let's put a certain amount in that account, and don't let your paycheck go to it. God knows, because
Yeah.
all it would take is you getting paid, and all of a sudden, oh, he got the debit card, bam, all your money gone, locks changed, he done moved, and now you're flat broke. So I
Swindle.
would say, however you guys choose to do so, probably start out small. Like, okay, you put $200 in, I put $200 in. Let's work towards some goals of ours together. Maybe it's going on that nice trip together. Maybe it's buying this together.
Yeah.
Let's work on that together before
Okay.
I'm like putting in my whole paycheck in, you're putting in your whole paycheck. And then we both seeing dollar signs and get excessive spending. So
Right. Right.
it really all depends. But I say start as slow as you can and
Okay.
then build upon it. Because once you're married, it's gonna take a long time for you guys to unwind all of that. But
Yeah.
before you married, he could change his mind tomorrow and be like, I'm out. Let me get this money out of this account.
Yeah. Right. Exactly. Yeah, you want to protect yourself. That's how I look at it. Even as
Absolutely.
a woman, like
Hmm.
I hear all of these instances where women are getting swindled by men, they're being charmed by men,
Hmm.
and a lot of the times I feel that when one thing that I noticed too is a lot of those women are heavily like in their masculine energy.
Hmm. Hmm.
And so they just give all their funds, and then they're now feeling like I gave more than what I received,
Hmm.
and you're stuck with this bitterness in your heart. So that
Fact.
also affects your future relationships. If
Absolutely.
you may have a wound with being able to receive or even trusting a man anymore, or trusting to even speak about finances with your significant other.
Absolutely. I was talking to this guy one time and he's like, I'm used to the woman paying for all of everything. And I'm like, who have you been dating? Because that ain't going to happen on this side of the earth.
No,
But
man.
all of that comes into your past plays a huge role. And we have to take time and look into our past and make sure that we're not setting ourselves up for financial trauma, to be a victim. And like you said, it all comes back to protecting yourself. PYA. That's protect your A word. I don't know if I can cuss on here or not.
Yes.
PYA all day. Protect yourself. Have a little, even if you are married, have a little savings account. Save money because you never know what's going to happen. What's
Right.
that movie where I think it's Jump the Broom, where they were having financial struggles and the husband's like, babe, we're down the drain. And she's like, well, honey, I've been saving money, putting a little bit on the side. We're going to be just fine. That
Yeah.
I think it's important.
Yeah.
Protect yourself,
Yeah.
still build your wealth, even though you're building wealth with someone else. Always have a cushion for yourself because anything could happen. The pandemic happened to us in 2020. Was anybody prepared? Honestly, no, I
No.
wasn't.
No.
I was not
No.
prepared. But guess what? I bet you now I am.
Right. The last episode I did was dating to marry, and
Hmm.
one of the biggest things that I talked about on there was the power, what the feminine energy is supposed to do. And I feel
Hmm.
like what you just said about, oh, I have something on the side, like I told women, like, it's okay if you have a provider, someone who's going to pay all of the bills or whatever, but you have to understand if you're going to be with the provider, for one, you have to be able to receive, but for two, you're not going to be doing nothing. You still need to do something. You
Yes.
still have a part.
Yes. You still have a role to play.
Yeah, you
So
still have a
you
role to
you
play.
have to look at it in that same spectrum. Like, okay, so he's paying all the bills. What can I provide? What can I do? Okay,
Yeah,
well, maybe since he's paying all the bills, maybe since I'm working, I can start investing. I can put my money in
investing.
stocks. I can build
Yeah,
us some wealth. I can put
right.
money in an IRA, a CD, a 401k.
Yeah.
You can still invest. Like
Mhm.
don't sacrifice your independence for this ideal femininity or just because you're being taken care of. You still have to be smart. And guess what? The bottom line is we all have an end date, an expiration date. So
Exactly.
in the event that this person passes away, because eventually they will, okay, who's going to take care of you then? And how are you going to provide for yourself? You don't want
Yes.
to get a job. You ain't have a job, this whole time you've been taken care of. So what are you going to do? You don't want
Yeah.
to wait until it's too late. You got to be smart and you got to PYA.
You got a PYA. I love that. I love
PYA.
that.
Well,
PYA.
protect your assets.
Protect your assets. I love
Yes.
that. I love that. I love that. So let's get into the next topic. Next topic is habits stemming from financial trauma. What are some habits that may people may not notice that they're doing, but it's stemming from this financial trauma?
All right. So I'm getting very professional on you again. So possible signs of financial trauma are kind of what I talked on a little bit earlier. So family dysfunction, when the
Mm-hmm.
money trauma increases the likelihood of you having dysfunctional relationships is definitely one of the impacts. Substance misuse. People can start to use substances, and when dealing with financial trauma, they can get on drugs. They can, start smoking cigarettes. They can start drinking excessively. Things like that are signs because what they're trying to do is heal themselves. And when you don't have a clear navigation tool, you're gonna, deal with substances. And by no means am I a substance abuse person who's going to be judging people, because I am not a judgmental person, but you have to be aware of where it comes from and how this is affecting you. Another one that I said earlier was gambling.
Yeah.
That can be a sign that an impact of financial trauma is that you're spending more money because you already feel like you're in a hole and you don't know what to do.
Hmm.
Another thing is you can start to develop mental conditions, which is very important. I want to throw that topic out there. Definitely need to have a podcast about mental health.
Yeah.
But
Okay.
money trauma can lead to ongoing mental illnesses such as low self esteem, anxiety disorders, panic attacks,
Yeah.
depression, and suicidal thoughts. Like those are the ways that this can be impacting you. You can start to have physical health conditions because of your mental health conditions, because you're depressed, because have all this anxiety. You can start having long-term stress hormones that can really play a big toll in your mental and your physical abilities. You can get diabetes, you can get heart disease, high blood pressure. There's just the list goes on and on about things that could happen to you because of this financial trauma. And the last one is work impairment. So study shows that money trauma can cause cognitive and health symptoms that impair abilities to function well at work. So when you're even at
Wow.
work, it could do
Wow.
one or two things. And I always say this, it can go the extreme or it can go below. So you can start to become like, oh man, I'm focused on work. I gotta work. You're the first one there, you're the last one out, you're working late hours just because you're trying to catch up financially. Or you can go the opposite way. You're like, I know working this 9 to 5 job is not gonna help me get out of this financial hole. So you start missing work, you start getting on FMLA, and not saying that your struggles are not real, but they're almost self-induced because you're having depression, anxiety. You're not fixing the root problem.
Mhm.
So some of
Right.
those habits can form without you even being, in tune to it. So that's my official list of
Yeah.
habits stemming from financial trauma. But other things, like I said before, is overspending. It's really bad and it's really
Yeah.
sad. And people are thinking, oh, I got the money, I can do it. If you're not sitting down, looking at your finances at least once or twice a month, you're already in trouble because
Mhm.
you don't know what's going out and coming in, and you're not preparing yourself. You're not PYAing. You're not
Mhm.
doing anything
Yeah.
to protect yourself, and you will struggle. And none of us want to struggle. So people get into a depression where they're like, well, I don't even care. My account's negative. It's always been negative. It's going to stay negative until I get paid. And then as soon as I get paid again, it's going to go right back
Back
negative.
in the negative.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
those are just some of the habits. Do you have any other habits that you noticed or have
For
seen?
sure, for sure. Definitely like avoidance, very,
Mhm.
very avoidant, like you were saying, not even wanting to open bills, not wanting to check the bank accounts. I feel like um that is a good habit to instill, looking at your bank account, not being afraid to look at that bank account.
Mhm.
I also feel like, ducking and dodging when you are in a situation,
Mhm.
have that conversation with your landlord, have that conversation with the bill collector, have that conversation instead of, running from these
Mhm.
people, because reality is that we all have been through financial struggles. We've all have had financial issues. Um, and so I feel that understanding that, yes, I am in a financial bind right now. Like I was saying before, go ahead and saying, okay, this is where I am, and how can I get to the next step or where I want to go.
Exactly.
And I feel that a lot of times, people don't know what they want, or they're afraid to want it. They're
Mm-hmm.
afraid to have a want, a true desire. I also feel that some habits come about of over fantasizing other people's, like over romanticizing other people's life, and
Mm-hmm.
I'm also seeing like resentment for people who do have funds. They're living the comfortable
Yeah,
lifestyle.
they have the means.
They have the
And I
means.
think social media plays heavily into a lot of what we see because people are only posting, number one, the good parts of their lives. So when they are on vacation, they're showing the pictures. They bought a new house, they're going to share it. They got a new car, oh, they're going to share it. And you're over here like, I don't even know how I'm going to feed these kids for dinner, So that
Right.
that may play into it. And it really can get you start to feeling like you have low self-esteem and not wanting to deal with that again with that mental health side of things. So I think social media can play a big role. It can be a wonderful tool, especially for business, but you also have to monitor your intake of these things and how it's making you feel. If at the end of the day you finish scrolling and you're like, oh man, I feel like crap, then what am I intaking and why do I feel this way and how is this affecting me and why is it affecting me the way it is? I think that
Right.
plays a huge role. What did I put? Another habit, and I've seen this a lot of times in my role, is counting yourself out before you're even in. So people will
Mm.
come to the bank and they're
Mhm.
like, I want to buy a car, but I know I'm not going to be able to. How do you know that? How do you
Yeah.
know that?
How do you know?
They'll be like, "Well, I'm a black woman and I only make 30,000 and I only do this." That is, you're counting yourself out and you're not even putting a dog in a fight. The book that I'm reading now, you're not even raising your hand. And we do that so many times as women, and especially black women. We're like, I'm not even going to raise my hand. I'm not even going to have a comment in, I'm not even going to do it because I already know from my past situations, this has
Yeah.
happened to me. This has happened to my mom. This has happened to my grandma. Or we're
Yeah.
not even raising our hand. So you're counting yourself out. On the opposite side of that, and I've seen this in financing as well, people like me and people who are in finance like me who have a passion for what they do and their only goal is to help someone to get to their dreams, they're going to find you a way. For example, I had that happened to me. Somebody came in, I want a car loan. I know I'm not going to be ready for it. I'm not going to be do. Okay, we already know you're not going to get this auto loan. Let's try to get you a line of credit. Let's build
Yeah.
up your credit. Let's do this, let's do that. And I have 9 times out of 10 when I try to help them, they are not even willing to do what it takes to get the help. They're like, "Well, you just said I'm not approved for the auto loan." Yes, but you are approved for a credit card. You are approved
Yeah.
for a line of credit. You are approved
Right.
for these other things, and that will help you build your credit to where you want to get to. But because we're counting ourselves out and not even putting our dog in the fight, we're done before it even starts.
Yeah. Yeah. I definitely have done that myself.
Mhm.
I've definitely have done that myself. Even
I'm
with
guilty of it.
um, yeah,
I must say
yes,
I'm guilty of it.
yes, yes. Even with the
But
new car I got now, I was just like, I'm probably not gonna get it approved. Like,
right,
and why wouldn't I?
right.
Avoidant, avoidant, not looking at what is actually there,
Mhm.
um, and allowing past situations cloud and rob my future. Yeah,
Yeah, you can't do that. You have to, if one door closes, another one's gonna open. Better believe that. If it's for you, it's gonna be for you. There will be different avenues. So even if they say, at this bank, go to a community bank, go to a credit union, go to a
right,
CVSI, like where I work.
right.
Go
Yeah,
get the help, find the resources, and dig yourself out. Find people who are passionate about what you're passionate about and helping you and getting you there. Like, there
yeah.
is no excuses in this world of information that we live in. All we have to do now is type into Google, look on YouTube, figure out how to get the help we need. There's no more excuses. So if
Yeah,
you're holding yourself back, you're holding yourself back.
for real.
And not to point the finger, but we got to do better as a community is I see it oh too many times. People not even putting in their application for the loan because they're like, I don't know if I'm going to be approved. Let me figure that out. That's my job. And if
Right.
you can't get approved, I'm gonna tell you how, because guess what? I care and I'm gonna work with you to get you there. And if
Yeah.
I can't help you, I know somebody else who can help you. Then you come back and see me. But the problem is, just because we get one no, we think all of the answers are gonna be no.
Yeah.
Maybe a higher power is just telling you, maybe not now. What if I
Yeah.
give you the $100,000 that you want? Then you're gonna blow it. Let's
Yes.
teach you how to be financially independent and financially responsible, then you'll get your blessings.
Right.
People don't look at it that way.
Yes. I
They don't.
definitely agree with the not right now. No doesn't mean always no. It just means not right now.
Exactly. Exactly. And we got to do better, self included. I'm preaching to the choir.
Definitely. Definitely. What did Jazz say? Oh my gosh, this is me starting my business and trying to get a loan. Yes.
Mm,
Yes, Jasmine. There's a way.
there
There
is a
is
way.
a way. Okay. A lot of times I was just there, of course, but a lot of times, we think that because the big banks or the banks told us no, that there's no other way. I promise you, there's other ways, other avenues to get the funding you need for sure.
Especially with small businesses, I would Google CDFIs, their Community Development and Financial Institution, one that I work for. And our whole goal is to help people to start their own businesses and get the funding that they need. So, again, you got to do your homework. I mean, we're always looking and seeing what we're putting in our body, what we're eating, what we're putting on our hair. Let's see about what we're putting into our financial future and our wealth. Let's
Yeah.
start Googling that. Let's start researching that. And I guarantee it's, it's, you'll find that there is help out there. And you have to just mentally know it's going to be an uphill battle. But if you're willing to do the work, you can achieve your dreams. And not to be like a motivational speaker, but
Yeah.
that's just how I feel. It's all in your mindset. Your mind can hold you back. Like Jasmine says here in the comment, thinking you're not good enough. As Black women, that is one thing that we feel like we have to be everybody's hero and everybody's savior. Oh, I can do that. I can do this all by myself. I don't need no help. I've done this for years. Okay, let's get some help. It's
Yeah.
okay to get help.
Yeah.
And not thinking that you're good enough is a problem.
Yeah.
When you're 100% capable, you're just as capable as some older white man of getting a loan as anybody
Exactly.
else in this world.
You know what I thought about before we got on here? Because I get like little messages throughout the day. Like if I know what I'm gonna talk about, I get like little things little tidbits that come to my mind. And the first thing that came to my mind was I was like, I just be thinking about all the crooks that
Mm-hmm.
get, you know what I'm saying? Like it's
Oh
so many
my
different
God.
types of people. What makes you
Right.
not capable, worthy, or able? Like there's always a way. Okay, there's always a way
Absolutely.
for a
I
fact.
like to use this metaphor. So every person on this earth is made up of 70% water. 70% of us are exactly the same. The
Yeah.
30% is what sets us apart. Either you're going to do good with it, you're going to do bad with it, you're going to cut yourself short, or you're going to thrive and move and push ahead. What's your 30%? What are you made of? That's the
Mhm.
question you got to ask yourself. Am I a fighter? Am I a person
Yeah.
that's just going to lay down? Am I going to
Yeah.
follow everybody's lead? Or I'm going to take the
Mhm.
reins of my own life and do what I need to do and get this business started.
That's right. That's right.
Entrepreneurs are not afraid of failing.
Yes.
And
Yes.
we look at that in my business. I look at that every day. And that's part of the reason why I sit down with people. I'm like, if they can't even coordinate a meeting, I know they're going to not work for their business the way they need to,
Right.
because people that are driven, they're always going to be driven no matter what they're doing. If they're like, look, I'm going to run a 20K, then they're driven and they're going to do it. There's nothing setting you apart from the next person. So you have to
Right.
figure out what you're made of and what sets you apart. Maybe you do have a crazy business idea. Go for it. You can do it. Just don't
Yeah.
hold yourself back and don't cut yourself short.
Yeah. Holding yourself back is
Mhm.
definitely procrastination. Is definitely a
Mhm.
habit that I've seen and that I've experienced with myself procrastinating. Like you could even have the money to pay the bill and you still procrastinate.
Yeah.
That right there was like, okay,
Yeah,
something's
that
deep.
that is a big part of financial trauma is you've seen this in your past, either with your parents or with yourself starting out early and independent. You've always struggled. Now that you're in a financial independent state, you're like, the bill's due on the 15th, but I get paid again on the 20th. So I'm going to wait until the 20th. No, you got the money
Right.
now.
Just
Do
do
it.
it.
Those are
Just
your
do it.
financial habits. You had to do that out of necessity. Now that it's not a necessity anymore, what are you waiting for? Pay
Yeah.
the bill. You
Pay
can
the
do
dang
that.
on bill.
Yeah, you can do it. It's just it's not funny, but it's like, why do we do this to ourselves? Why would we want to just remain in this state of struggle even when we're not even there anymore? There are some situations where you're gonna have to rob Paul to pay Peter if you're in
Mhm.
that situation and you can juggle it that way. And that may work for people at the time who are not, bringing in the funds that they want to. However, one of the habits is procrastination and paying those bills late. And let me tell you, that is the worst thing you could do for your credit.
Yeah, that it really is. I had
Hmm.
a really bad issue with like when the light bill come in and it got the balance and then it got how much you gonna pay
Hmm.
after. I instantly looked at how much I was gonna pay after. Like I
Preach.
realized that I was like, why do I always look at the after? Like I just subconsciously, like you said, that cognitive
Yeah.
habit that you don't even realize that you're doing is
Hmm.
really affecting your financial health. Like
Yeah.
that really blew me. And that was another thing that prompted me to talk about, this topic today with you because I was like, there's a lot of things that I realized subconsciously that I
Hmm.
was doing that I'm sure other people um have experienced the same thing and they may not realize, oh wow, like I do have an issue or I do the same thing and I didn't think about it like that. So I guess that's,
Absolutely.
yeah. And that takes me to the next topic of when should someone seek professional help?
Absolutely. So, some of the things is when you should seek financial help is when you have some cognitive or eye movements. And I know it's really crazy. It's called EMDR. It's
Mm-hmm.
eye movement desensitive and reprocessing. So when you find yourself kind of at work or at home and you're sitting there staring into space for no apparent reason and it's hard for you to get out of, that is one of the main things where you need to be like, okay, I'm daydreaming, but I'm not daydreaming about anything.
Yeah.
Okay, maybe it's time for me to seek help and
Okay.
professional help. Um, a lot of people don't realize that, and they're like, I'm just thinking, or I'm not thinking about anything. I'm just daydreaming. That's one of the signs that it may be time for you to seek a therapist and get some help. Also, on the financial side of things, when you're struggling to pay your bills, just the basic bills, you need to get in a financial advisor and someone to help you get out of your debt struggles. That is one of the things that typically we're not doing. We're not raising our hand, we're not asking for help. But I guarantee you, even if you go to one of these big banks and you're saying, I want to build my credit or I want to get out of debt, they're going to help you because guess what? If they help you, they can get your business. So they're going to help you and they're going to do it for
Right.
free. So if you find yourself struggling to pay your bills, you definitely need to seek not just mental and professional help, but you also need to seek financial help as well. Another thing is if you become violent or are
Mm-hmm.
triggered at the most inconvenient times or by the smallest things. For example, like I said earlier, if you're shopping at the mall and somebody's like, would you like to get a credit card? And then all of a sudden you find yourself snapping at this woman like,
God.
no, I don't want no credit card. I don't know how many times I have to tell you, just rung up my transaction and let me go on my way. If that
Mm-hmm.
happens, once or twice, okay, you're having a bad day. But if it's happening more frequent, more than 5 times a month, You need to seek some professional help, and it's
Right.
okay to ask for help.
Right. Because that person is just doing their job. That they have to. They're just trying to meet their quota. They're
They're
not trying to
just
trigger
doing
you.
it because they have to, not because they want to get chewed out by you, not because they actually want you to get a credit card. They're just
Yeah.
doing their job. So
Hmm.
that is something that we need to be aware of. Also, sometimes if you can't manage your stress on your own, again, and you're turning to drugs or substances, again, seek professional help and it's okay. I would definitely suggest going online first. There are a lot of apps that you can use where you can talk to a professional online, be it, just like this in a virtual room where you could talk to a therapist, but finding the right therapist is also huge. You
Hmm.
want to find a therapist that specializes with financial struggles and financial trauma, and they're out there. You can find all types of therapists for that cater to your needs. If you want to find a black therapist who talks about finances and believes in Jesus or Allah, they have it for you. So don't think
Yeah.
that there's not professional help out there. So you can always seek help. But if you're just finding yourself just violent and triggered for no apparent reason, again, it says 5 times a month, more than 5 times a month. If you're finding yourself every single week snapping on a different person that you don't even know, it's time.
Yeah.
It's time.
Yeah. Yeah. Or
Absolutely.
even lying about your situation.
Hmm.
Oof.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Lying, not just lying, but habitual lying. If you're lying, for example, let's say you and your friends and your coworkers, you're like, oh, let's all go out to lunch together. And then you ain't got no money. You packed your lunch that day.
Yeah.
But all of a sudden, you want to go out. You got this sense of pride about you, and you're lying. You get there, you're like, "Oh my God, I left my wallet. I don't know where
Oh
it's
my
at."
God.
You're
Yeah.
lying to cover up your financial issues,
Hmm.
and that's not cute. It's
Yeah.
not cute,
Yeah.
and it's not
Yeah.
something that you should ever feel ashamed of. And a lot of us suffer from shame of our finances because, look, I don't have two nickels to rub together. Well, I know I'm not gonna pretend that I do and lie about it and put myself, in more of a financial strain where I have to owe my coworker. Like I'm not gonna do
Yeah.
that. So
Yeah.
you brought up a good point with the lying for sure.
And also negatively speaking over your situation. I heard a man at the T-Mobile store, and it like I had to run it back. I was like, "What did you just say?"
Hmm.
But the guy was like, "I'll be right with you in just a minute." He was like, "It's okay because I got more time than I got money," and I was like, "Oh, I
Mm,
didn't know people really think like."
yeah,
It really was like I didn't know people really think like that, or what was that to say?
yeah. Like
you
who
know?
even thinks like that?
Yeah. Yeah, it kind of threw
Absolutely.
me for a loop for a second. I was just like, "Oh wow." Like,
Like,
if
do I
you
have more time? Did I have money? It's got two
yes,
things too, and
yes.
and being in those negative environments can have a huge impact on you. And again, talking about financial trauma, with the way you were raised, if you come from a family where y'all are always trying to find ways to save money and money is huge, that can be a financial trigger for you.
Yeah.
And you're like, oh my God, I didn't realize that, or you're not doing your part, to save or seek help, that is an issue that we
Yeah.
need to be cognitive of. I also wanted to share, if you're not comfortable with seeking professionals, because I know a lot of people are not, but we need to get comfortable with it. Some other ways that you can cope with financial trauma is number one, and this is huge. And if you got a notebook, write it down. Embrace your worth. Your financial
Mm.
struggles are not who you are, they
Yeah.
are where you are. So I
Yes.
think it's very important that you, number one, know your worth.
That's a good one.
Um,
That's a
the second one, and another way to cope, is seek support. Even joining little podcasts like this, talking about it, knowing that you're not the only person going through these struggles, it's very healthy and it's very informational, and it makes you know and let you know, like, this is real. I'm not the only one going through this. So definitely getting positive support, not always hanging around negative people. That's important.
Definitely.
Having a financial advisor would be number three. I'm sorry, I'm gonna give y'all 12 tips. I forgot to say. But number three is seeking a financial advisor. Again, go to your banks, even talk to, customer support. They'll put you in touch with a financial advisor. And financial advisors, unless you have millions of dollars, they do not need to be charging you as much.
Yeah.
Another way, number four, is manage stress. Make sure that you are getting enough proper sleep, exercising, getting the nutrition that you need, and practicing good self care. That
Yeah.
is key. Another number five is decrease shame. Due to shame and the stigma of financial trauma, people aren't willing to face it. But just know that you're not alone and there are people out here to help you. So, number six, identifying your triggers. If you already know that the lady at the counter asking about your credit card is going to be a trigger, pull out your cash. Know what your triggers are and address them as they come or as they could come and prepare yourself for those. Number seven is practice self compassion. Don't be so hard on yourself. It's not a situation that you can't ever get out of. So if you're going through financial traumas, just take it easy on yourself. Don't be so self judgmental.
Yeah.
Number eight is apply mindfulness in your financial life. Me personally, every time I get paid, the day before I get paid, I sit down, I do my budgeting, I work on my budget. I'm like, okay, I know that I can only spend $150 on my hair and nails this time. I know that I can only spend $200 on groceries. No, that's not a lot, but that's how much I'm on budget. So you take your finances by the reins. I promise you, you will feel much, much better about it.
Much better.
Much better. Number nine is shift from your mindset and start thinking abundantly. If you're thinking
Mhm.
negatively all the time about your finances, guess what? What you think about is what you think about. You
Yeah.
are what you think about. So you
Yes.
have to realize, hey, I'm already doing that self doubt thing. Let me stop that and start thinking positively. And I promise you, it will take you a long way. Rewrite your money story. Start from scratch. Seek that financial help and find a way to start over. And number 12 is set healthy financial boundaries in your relationships. It kind of brings back
Mm.
to that question. Just let whoever know that you're with, like, hey, let me be upfront and honest. This is what I'm working on. These are my goals. These are my plans. If I'm telling you talking about credit scores as a trigger, let's not do that. Let's find another way to talk about it. So those are 12 coping steps that you can do if you don't want to seek that professional help or you don't have the means to seek professional help. There are other ways that you can cope with it.
That was great, Tanisha. That was a great way to end this thing all out because those 12 things I agree with wholeheartedly. Those things are things that I have integrated within myself, changing my mindset, being more abundant, even saying little affirmations throughout my
Yep.
day, to help me whenever I'm feeling resistance with paying bills or resistance with paying for things that is need or quality or that is going to better improve me investing in myself. I
Hmm.
always have like little things that I say to myself, that will reassure that my money is my financial situation is getting better every day by the minute. I
That's
That
right.
is my favorite thing to say. So
I
y'all
have
can
to
take
adopt that one.
that one. Yeah, y'all can steal that one. There you go. Y'all can have that one. So we're gonna go ahead and close this thing on out. Thank you so much, Tanisha, for coming through and giving us those tips, giving us your professional, um, advice and opinion. So, yeah, thank y'all, everyone who came and watched, even after, the replays. I'm sure we'll get a lot of replays. Um, but you can find this recording on Facebook, on my Facebook, The High Empress, or on YouTube, The High Empress, and also little clips on TikTok at The High Empress. So follow me on all social media platforms for upcoming episodes as well. Okay. So yeah, in the meantime, we'll see y'all next time, okay?
Thank you for having me, Brittany.
You're so welcome. Thank you again. Bye, y'all.